All right, let's talk about a period in history that didn't just tweak the world, it completely rebuilt it from the ground up. We're talking about the Industrial Revolutions. You know that feeling when it seems like everything is just moving at hyperspeed? It can be, well, dizzying. You look up and suddenly there's some new tech, some new way of doing things. It's a lot. But here's the thing, that feeling, it's not new at all. History is packed with these moments where technology just comes along and completely flips the script on, well, everything. So let's get into it. The key to understanding this whole era is to stop thinking of it as the Industrial Revolution like it was just one big thing. It wasn't. It was really more like two separate massive waves of change. So here's the basic timeline. Wave number one kicks off in Great Britain, right around the mid-1700s. Then, fast forward about a century and the second wave hits. And this one, it goes global, spreading all through Europe, the US, and even Japan. Each one had its own signature tech, its own special fuel. Okay, let's talk about that first wave. When you boil it all down, the story really comes down to just two things: coal and the steam engine. You know, everything starts with energy. For ages, that just meant wood. But the game changer, the real leap forward, was coal. This stuff burned so much hotter and harder than wood ever could. And that incredible heat, well, that was the key that unlocked everything else. Which brings us to this incredible machine, the steam engine, the one James Watt famously improved. And what's wild is how simple the idea is, really. You just burn coal to boil a ton of water. That creates this super high-pressure steam that pushes a piston. And that simple back-and-forth motion could power factory machines on a scale that was just unimaginable before. Now, why was this such a huge deal? Well, before the steam engine, factories had to be right next to a river to use a water wheel for power. They were literally chained to the geography. But steam power, that cut the chains. Suddenly, you could build a factory anywhere, near the coal, near the workers, near a port, and that freedom is what really sparked the massive growth of industrial cities. But they didn't just keep this amazing alien locked up in factories. Oh no. They put it on wheels, and bam, you've got railroads hauling unbelievable amounts of stuff across entire continents. They put it in ships, and suddenly you could cross oceans without caring which way the wind was blowing. This created a brand new global network, with coaling stations popping up everywhere, and massive projects like the Suez Canal literally shrinking the world. Okay, so that was the first wave. Now let's shift gears to the second one. Around 1850, the ground starts to shake again, technologically speaking, and this time, the big players are oil and steel. So with oil, you get a completely new kind of engine. See, coal was all about powering that big, clunky external steam engine, but oil, or really gasoline, that fueled something much smaller and way more efficient, the internal combustion engine. And that difference in size and efficiency, it was a massive deal. The new engine had an amazing power-to-weight ratio. Basically, you got way more bang for your buck from a much lighter machine. And that was the breakthrough that made personal transportation possible. Yep, this little engine led directly to the automobile. Meanwhile, it wasn't just about fuel. The very stuff we built things with was changing. Check out the Bessemer process, a total game changer for steel. The idea was genius in its simplicity. Take molten iron, blast it with hot air, and whoosh, all the impurities just burn right off. It's a perfect example of a simple idea with absolutely world-changing consequences. And the result? For the very first time, humanity could make massive amounts of strong, cheap steel. It became the literal skeleton of the modern world. Think massive bridges, thousands upon thousands of miles of rails, bigger and stronger ships, all of it built with this new amazing material. But the second wave was more than just engines and steel. There were two other huge forces that were about to change daily life forever: chemistry and electricity. Seriously, chemists in the lab were becoming like actual wizards. They figured out how to make synthetic dyes, which meant suddenly the world exploded with vibrant, long-lasting color. It totally changed fashion. At the same time, they perfected vulcanized rubber, that durable, stretchy stuff that was absolutely essential for everything from machine belts to tires for the newfangled automobiles. And then, there was electricity. When Thomas Edison finally cracked the code for a practical light bulb, it did way more than just light up our houses. It meant factories could run 24/7. They weren't slaves to the sun anymore. This single invention basically created the nonstop economy and the whole idea of working in shifts. This era even invented instant messaging. I'm talking about the telegraph. And when they finally laid that cable across the Atlantic Ocean in the 1870s, wow, a message that used to take weeks by boat could now zap across the ocean in minutes. Just think about that. It was basically the Victorian internet, a total revolution in communication.
So, okay, we've got all this incredible new technology, but what does it all mean? What was the real global impact of all these inventions? Well, they made the world feel a whole lot smaller.
I love this quote. Railroads were like arteries, pumping life inland. It's so true. Before, everyone and everything was stuck on the coasts or along rivers. But railroads, they were like arteries, pushing deep into the heart of continents like North America and Russia. People could now settle way out there, farm the land, and ship their goods back to the global market. And the effect on trade was, well, just look at this. It's an absolute explosion. With steamships, railroads, and the telegraph all working together, global trade just skyrocketed. It multiplied over and over, creating the first truly interconnected global economy. And it wasn't just goods being moved, it was people. Millions of them. Get this, something like 20% of the entire population of Europe emigrated during this time. Can you imagine? 1/5 of a continent on the move, mostly to the Americas. And it was only possible because steamships and trains turned a once life-threatening journey into something manageable.
So, let's wrap this up. What's the takeaway here? When you look at these two waves together, from the age of steam and coal to the age of oil, steel, and electricity, you're looking at the blueprint for our modern world. They completely redefined how we work, how we travel, how we talk to each other, everything.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to that feeling of dizzying change. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are we living through another one of these waves right now? Is the impact of AI and digital tech today just as huge as the impact of steam and electricity was back then? It's a heck of a question to think about. Thanks for joining me.